Good morning, everyone. I have been very busy and so very behind, and I'm usually ahead of the news. Usually I'm reading the Twitter exchanges that lead to newspaper articles being written, and so I apologize that I'm so behind. But here we go. Brian Lilly is tweeting, quote, "I never knew until tonight that the Liberals had 2 campaign planes and had 2 planes in 2015. This is the party that runs nonstop on reducing carbon emissions. This should have been reported. I doubt most media knew, but it seems some did. How did you not report this? How do you not report this?" And here's the Globe and Mail article, and it says, Scheer says 2-plane Liberal campaign is hypocritical as Trudeau points to the use of carbon offsets. And I think it's funny the things that are left out of this article, like the fact that the other plane is old and emits twice the CO2 that this plane emits. And the lack of investigative, uncovering of that and kind of laying it bare is interesting to note, right? Here's the Globe and Mail's title, which also focuses on Scheer, really, and not Trudeau. Like, really, it's kind of strange. But here's the title. Scheer says 2-plane Liberal campaign is hypocritical as Trudeau points to use of carbon offsets. The Conservatives tried to score environmental points against the Liberals Wednesday over how many planes the Grit Tour uses, but the Liberals say they buy carbon offsets while the Tories don't. During a French-language TV debate in Montreal, Conservative leader Andrew Scheer criticized Liberal leader Justin Trudeau for using 2 planes for his campaign. The rare practice wasn't known to journalists covering the Liberal tour. The Conservatives sent out a press release during the debate with travel logs and pictures of the second plane, which is not decked out in the Liberal branding of Mr. Trudeau's plane. The revelation from the Tories brought a charge from Mr. Scheer that Mr. Trudeau is a, quote, high-carbon hypocrite. Mr. Scheer suggested the Liberal leader is a hypocrite because while Mr. Trudeau marched in the climate strike last week, he's emitting more greenhouse gases by relying on 2 planes. However, the Liberals say they have bought carbon offsets for the 2 planes as well as the buses they use on their tour. The Conservatives don't purchase any offsets for their planes or buses. Andrew Scheer and his Conservatives did not purchase carbon offsets for their transportation because they think pollution should be free, Mr. Trudeau told reporters after the debate. He said the Liberals use 2 planes just like they did in 2015 because it allows the party to, quote, do more events in more parts of the country and meet more Canadians. The party said it buys carbon offsets from Bullfrog Power Incorporated, which partners with less emissions. The company's website says offsets are, quote, an imperfect solution and should be used as a, quote, last resort only. Now, I'll note as well, the quotes are only around imperfect solution and last resort. I'd love to hear what the actual company says and not what the newspapers massaged it to say. Like, it's very interesting because usually a quote is more than, 2 words, right? Otherwise, why quote? Why quote that? That's weird. Okay, back to the article. The company lists solar energy and wastewater treatment projects as examples of their offset programs. And I mean, again, wastewater treatment, okay, how many pounds of CO2 are they pulling out per year? How many jet flights are they pulling out per year? I'd love an option to look at that information, right? And I'm not sure that less emissions has those breakdowns. And wastewater treatment programs and solar energy. Okay, so again, how much greenhouse gases, how many pounds of CO2 are you pulling out of the air? And if offsets work so well that they can be used to justify 2 campaign planes, does that work better? Is the last resort for the campaign to have 2 campaign planes? It seems like the People's Party campaign and the Green campaign and the NDP campaign get along just fine with 0 planes, and the Conservative campaign seems to be okay with 1 plane. So the last resort to an imperfect solution seems odd, doesn't it? Like if they work well enough to offset for a campaign plane, then what's the carbon tax doing, right? If we've got this option of offsets, right? Or am I crazy? Yeah. Okay. Back to the article. Mr. Scheer was asked why his campaign doesn't buy carbon offsets, but he didn't answer and instead attacked the Liberals. I don't understand why he needs 2 planes. We've got 1, and we've got lots of space for luggage and equipment. I don't know what types of props or costumes or campaigning equipment he's bringing along with him, but he's made his choice, Mr. Scheer said. Now, I'm going to pause there just because I've read my own quotes in newspapers, and I've seen my quotes butchered. And so take that with a grain of salt. I don't know if he said that. To me, that sounds massaged. That sounds like something that there's maybe a shadow of that in what he said, but I don't know. And I'm not trying to play apologist for Mr. Scheer. I'm just trying to say that I've been severely misquoted in the newspaper. And if the newspaper wants to make you look a certain way, well, they've got a lot of ways they can do it. right? So take it with a grain of salt. Okay, back to the article. Quote, he thinks it's okay to emit far more emissions than our campaign is emitting, and so we're going to continue to hold him to account for his hypocrisy. So that he probably said. And I agree with that, just because the Liberal campaign has been hypocritical, well, as hypocritical as the Liberal government, right? And this is a big story, but I'm just going to tack it on the end of this one and have a little bit, well, maybe a shorter usual video of mine for today. The Globe and Mail is reporting Conservative leader Andrew Scheer holds dual Canadian U.S. citizenship, had attacked Michelle Jean on the same issue. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer holds dual Canadian U.S. citizenship, but says he's in the process of renouncing his status as an American. Speaking to reporters Thursday in Bedford, Nova Scotia, after a campaign rally at a Chinese restaurant, Mr. Scheer said he made the decision to renounce his U.S. citizenship after he became leader of the party in May 2017. A campaign spokesman said earlier in the day that Mr. Scheer's father, who was born in the United States and holds joint citizenship, obtained U.S. citizenship and passports for his son and 2 daughters when they were born in Canada. He said Mr. Scheer submitted paperwork in August to renounce his citizenship and was waiting for confirmation that he is no longer an American citizen. Okay, Mr. Scheer has been the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada since May of 2017. I just want to show you May 27th, to be exact, according to Wikipedia. So he knew that he would be in an election campaign. Why wait until the August before the writ drops? And the writ was, everybody knew it was going to be early September. Most people were either thinking Labor Day or, if not Labor Day, the 15th. Trudeau surprised everybody with doing it on the 11th. I believe it was the 11th. So weird to wait till August. Be like, oh man, we got an election next month. I should probably get on that, eh? That thing I decided to do in May of 2017. Right? Weird. Anyway, so Mr. Scheer submitted paperwork in August to renounce his citizenship, and he's waiting for confirmation that he is no longer an American citizen. So it's up to the United States how long that takes. Do you remember how big a deal that was for Michael Ignatieff when he was a Liberal running for the Prime Minister's office? That was a huge deal. Everybody was, well, there were people who wouldn't vote for Liberal because he was, in the press, he was presented as an American. Now, Mr. Scheer has grown up in Canada. I don't think that it's necessarily the same thing because Mr. Ignatieff had been living in the United States. So it's a little bit different, right? But, I mean, political hate can be made regardless of the reality of the situation, especially these days. It's very, very crazy. Back to the article. When asked why he waited until August to inform the U.S. government he was renouncing his citizenship, Mr. Scheer said he was focused on other things, such as rebuilding the party and getting ready for the election, but added that it has always been his intention. Oh, good. Mr. Scheer said he's been transparent on the issue. Quote, I was never asked about it from Canadians. I've actually been very honest about it. My father's always been very open about where he's come from, and I haven't been asked the question. Nobody's asked me if I'm American. Nobody, not once. Nobody's ever asked me if I'm American. Nope. What? Would they have reason to ask if you're American? Okay, back to the article. The Liberal Party released a statement late Thursday night criticizing Mr. Scheer for failing to proactively disclose his second citizenship. Quote, over 1 million Canadians hold dual citizenship. It's part of what makes Canada great, but none have hidden that fact when running to be Prime Minister. Party spokesman Zita Astravas said. Scheer's hidden core personal positions. He hid facts about his career and education, and now he's been caught hiding his American citizenship, even while ridiculing others for holding dual citizenship. Mr. Scheer had raised concerns about the dual allegiance of former Governor General Michael Jean before she gave up her French citizenship to assume the country's highest post. In a 2005 blog, he asked his constituents whether it was appropriate for Ms. Jean to hold dual Canadian French citizenship and asked, quote, would it bother you if instead of French citizenship, she held U.S. citizenship? Well, Mr. Scheer, that seems hypocritical, doesn't it? Right? No, I didn't just open a door. I just did that with my... Okay. Back to the article. On Thursday, Mr. Scheer rejected the idea that he had been hypocritical on this issue. When faced with questions about his past criticism of Miss Jean, he said, quote, I asked a question at the time about the facts that she held it. I asked my constituents what they felt about that. I was just asking questions of my constituents, what they thought of that at the time. I was born in Canada. My mom was born in Mississauga. My dad was born in the United States. I grew up my whole life in Canada, he said. Canadians with dual citizenship can sit in Parliament as MPs, and the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa said there is no requirement for any American to give up their citizenship if they lead or serve in a foreign government. In the past, Conservatives were critical of former Liberal leader Stéphane Dion during the 2008 election over his dual Canadian-French citizenship. In 2015, the Tories also attacked NDP leader Tom Mulcair for holding French citizenship. Then Prime Minister Stephen Harper expressed disdain for political leaders holding allegiance to another flag during the 2015 election. Quote, "I'm very clear. I am a Canadian and only a Canadian," he said. Green Party leader Elizabeth May, who was born in Connecticut, also held dual citizenship. Her U.S. citizenship was revoked in 1978 when she became a Canadian, as the law required at the time. And I'm going to leave this article here because this show is already long enough. But isn't it interesting, right? He can just ask questions away. And, well, nobody asked him if he was American. So that's where we're at. We're less than 3 weeks to Election Day. We've got Thanksgiving weekend with advanced polls open all weekend for that weekend, I believe. And, well, isn't this exciting? Aren't you having fun? I sure am. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to vote on the 21st or get out to your advanced polls, or you can go to do special ballots right now. You can go out to vote today if you feel like it. You can vote at your returning office in your city. And, well, get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. Whoever you support, because that's what our democracy is about, right? Have your say. Be informed, but have your say. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.